as y'all can see, I am still recovering from fat assness that I caught during Thanksgiving. It's getting a little bit better, but we have so much more work to do. Nonetheless, recently I did an upload of a video entitled 5 More Things That You Should Never Say to People Who Collect Dolls. So if you've missed that video, make sure you go over there and watch that because I think it's very relatable. A lot of good comments. Scroll through the comments and see if any of the things that other collectors are experiencing are things that you yourself have experienced over time. And if you're new to collecting, well, you've been warned. These are the kinds of things that we have to deal with people saying to us because we collect dolls. But does that stop us from enjoying our dolls? A hell to the no. And it doesn't have to stop you. So I'm here to help you continuously have a dolly day, okay? Today we're going to jump right into another course in our Sculpt study series. This is episode 10. Episode 8 I think isn't actually labeled with a number. I should probably go back and label that for you guys, but that's the one where I did all the Barbie Looks dolls in the first 2 waves together. Anyway, speaking of Barbie Looks dolls, we're actually gonna take a closer look at some of the Looked dolls and look at the details of their faces. Not all of the dolls that we're gonna look at today are Barbie Looks. Some of the ones we go over are gonna be girl faces and some of them are gonna be guy faces. We're gonna do Selma, Brandon, Tate, Heidi, and Fryda. I wanted to do an exploration of these newer sculpts because I think they are faces to look out for because they're new, so we don't have a whole bunch of dolls yet with these faces. So if you've missed them, I'm going to try and give you guys some information on dolls that were produced that had these sculpts. And if you do have them, then some of these you're going to see how very, very rare they are right now, because you might have the only existing sculpts of some of these right now in your collection. So just a few objectives on why I do this face sculpt study with you guys. One reason is because I would like for us to be able to recognize these facial sculpts a lot easier without having to constantly look for references. Basically, we're looking for features in the face that we can memorize. How do you recognize my face when you see it somewhere, or somebody who looks like me? It's certain features on my face that you've burned into your memory, so that makes it easier for you to be like, oh yeah, that's a gypsy sculpt, right? The other thing is that it's always great to discover a new sculpt that you might not have known existed or didn't know the name of until you came across it somewhere. Like when I first saw Odile, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? What is this face? And the price of the doll was so freaking high at the time that I had to settle for just memorizing the doll's face sculpt and the name of the sculpt so that I could kind of like keep an eye out for her in case there were more versions of her that were produced later on, which we did end up getting. Thank you, Dolly gods. And so now we have multiple Odiles that we can pick from. But if I hadn't made like a mental note of what face sculpt that was, I might not have been paying attention when more Odiles had popped up. You know, it would have just been off my radar. The other great thing about doing sculpt studies is that as you're looking at these faces and realizing, oh, all these different dolls with these completely different face ups have the same sculpt, it might help you to make like a mental inventory of your own doll collection to decide whether you actually need to add more of certain dolls to your collection or not. For example, in my case, I only have 2 Silkstone dolls. And so if I come across any other Silkstones that might be in my price range or that just tickle my fancy, that's probably going to be a doll sculpt that I want to add to my collection moving forward until I reach a certain number. This really helps for us to restrict some of the dolls that we're adding to our collections, because I think sometimes we get very overwhelmed and hypnotized by all of the fanfare over certain dolls, like the Barbie extra dolls, for example. When everybody's flooding your timeline with these pictures, it can be really, really hard to resist buying certain dolls until you realize I have like 20 and Billies in my collection. I don't really need another one. Or I have so many Ashas in my sculpts that are all the same skin tone. The next Asha I get should be a different skin tone. So it just kind of helps you to like regulate what you're gonna add to your collection with more purpose than just getting a doll because it's a new Barbie. So we're just gonna jump over to our dolly station over here and take a closer look at each of these face sculpts that we're talking about today. And let me know in the comment section what you think and whether or not you have any of these dolls. All right, numero uno. The first doll we're going to talk about is this one here. Her name is Selma. Selma's face sculpt was first used on Carlisle Nuera's Harlem Theater Collection doll Selma Dupart James, and that one was released in 2017. My Selma happens to be on a curvy body, but she did not originally come as a curvy doll, so I named this one Song. You might also recognize this face sculpt used on a few other dolls. Since then, I'm just gonna name some that I know of off the top of my head. We've got the Puma doll that was out in 2018, who had the long pigtails that were braided with like some pink streaks in there. Oh my gosh. She was the bomb, and I totally missed her. Guys, I missed out on all of the other Selmas, okay? So this is my only one, obviously. 2018, again, we had the National Convention on the Avenue dolls that were released, and one of them was a Selma. In 2019, they released the Marvel Storm Barbie. Oh my goodness. Oh, I wanted that one so bad. In 2019, we also got the Styled by Chriselle Lim. And then in 2020, we got the 40th anniversary first black doll, like a tribute doll. That one had the long red dress and the big afro poof ponytail and kind of like a darker skin tone, I think. So clearly, as you can see from the pictures, most of the Selma dolls that were released since this one came with many different complexions. So you got her in lots of different flavors. The only complexion I haven't seen for this sculpt really is like, I don't know, like an Asian kind of a look or Caucasian look or something like that. But we got mostly like an Afro Latina kind of look for most of the Selma dolls that have been released so far. And we also haven't seen Playline dolls produced with this sculpt as well. Now for Selma, some key features you want to be looking for with her is the main thing is going to be her lips. Those are like the dead giveaway on her face. They're just very juicy, very plump and luscious. And from the side, it's looking something like that. Just very lip-licious, okay? She does have a very small to medium-sized head, I would say. Let's take this hat off for a moment, ma'am. Come on, son, cooperate. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I tell you, this is one of my few dolls that I have with the short bob hairstyle. Just a handful of them, but it just looks so good on her. And I wouldn't change her hairstyle for nothing. It just suits her so well. She reminds me of somebody I know that looks just like this, actually. Yeah, so more key features about this sculpt. So she does have a small to medium-sized head. She's got a very round-shaped head as well. And the spacing for like where her eyes are, you can fit very large eyes there. Like you can give her really big cartoony eyes on this sculpt and it will work just fine. But the main thing you want to be looking for with her is absolutely in the lips. Let's move on to the next doll. This young man's face sculpt is called Brandon. Also, this is a new one that came out in 2021-ish. Why did I say 2021-ish when it's right on the back? So according to the stamp on the back of his neck, he's a 2021 head sculpt, which we know because he was put out with the Barbie Looks wave that came out that year. And for him, he was Barbie Looks model number 17. So I call him Valdiani. The only other Ken doll that I know of that uses this sculpt is the Barbie movie Asian Ken from 2023 with the rooted hair. He's completely sold out, so I don't know where you can find him other than eBay or wherever the scalpers be hanging out at. But I don't know many other dolls that use the sculpt. There could possibly be some like one-of-a-kind auction type of a doll maybe that has a sculpt that I'm not thinking of. But as far as mass produced, I think it's just him and the Barbie movie Ken. Was there like a fashionista that could have maybe had this head sculpt? I don't know, you guys. If you can think of another Ken doll that has a sculpt, please leave it in the comments because I just can't think of who. So he's very rare right now if you're looking for the sculpt. And obviously, as you can tell from the features, he is supposed to be depicting the bone structure of an Asian man. I think just based on the way that this guy looks, he's supposed to look like a Filipino guy. Of course, he can pass for a bunch of other stuff too. So some of the key features to look for with his face, I think the main thing is going to be his nose. He's got a very distinct nose shape. It's like kind of wide at the base and turned downwards. It's a very rounded shape. And he also has a neutral expression on his face. He's not really like smiling. And he has somewhat angular cheeks where it does look kind of like he's got high cheekbones. I don't know if y'all can tell on camera, but I can tell when I'm looking at him in person. For sure, he's absolutely handsome. He's got a really cool face. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. This time I have me two young men. We've got Jonas over here with the red hair. And then we've got Quake over here with the brown hair. Jonas belongs to the BMR 1959 lineup that weren't given specific names to distinguish each of those dolls. I think we just called him BMR Tate or the BMR redhead guy. So that's like his nickname if you're looking for him. And for Quake, he is the Barbie Looks model number 18, who came out in the same wave, I believe, with Valdiani back there. But this sculpt we have seen on some other dolls that were available to purchase. So we had the 2024 Ken Couture Barbie, the 2021 Convention Power Pair, the white couple. And I'm not sure what other ones off the top of my head, but you're more than welcome to put them in the comments if you can think of any others that were mass-produced dolls, not one-of-a-kinds that obviously we can't access. A lot of these versions of the dolls were actually designed by Carlisle Nuera, if that makes any difference for you. One of the things about this sculpt that I noticed is that it translates very well as a very cartoony kind of a face sculpt. Like if you want to make him look less realistic and more cartoonish, it just works on the dimensions of his head. I would say the key features to look for with this sculpt is his very prominent chin. What do you call this? This is called like a cleft chin. His chin is a very distinct shape. Here's how it looks from the side. And the next very obvious thing on this guy's face are his dimples. He's got some very, very deep dimples that are just embedded into the sculpt. They're not drawn on. They're in there. This one is a little less noticeable because of the facial hair, but absolutely you can see those dips there on the side of his face. So if you see dimples and kind of a broad chin, then that's going to be your clues that it might be a Tate sculpt. Oh my gosh. Perdóname. I had to take a break because my device conked out on me. Technical difficulties. So I did a workout while I was waiting for it to correct itself. What were we saying about Tate's face? Right, we were talking about the key features to look for in this face. So we talked about the chin, we talked about the dimples, also the shape of his head. It's quite longish and it's got a squared off jawline with very slightly upturned lips at the corners. So if you look carefully at the shape of the lips, you'll see that he does have an expression kind of embedded into the sculpt of a very slight, I guess you could call it a smile. I don't know if I would really call that a smile. It's not a hard smile. It's just like a slight grin, I guess, maybe. And you can see here with these two guys, even though they do have the same sculpt, because the eyes are drawn on so differently, I mean, they really look unrecognizable. It's hard to tell that these are the same sculpt. It gives you a lot of room to work with as far as the face ups are concerned. If you're looking for him to look more realistic or look more cartoony, you can kind of get the best of both worlds with this sculpt. And also if you're a repainting artist, that gives you a lot of room to work with as well as far as how realistic you want the face to look. Something else to note about these Tate sculpts is that most of them, because they're not really used on playline dolls, they usually do come with some form of like textured hair. So you're probably gonna see rooting, you're probably gonna see some kind of flocking with these guys. All the ones that I've seen so far had at least rooted hair. It's not really part of the sculpt itself, but the finished product usually ends up having that textured hair look. If you're looking at a face that you suspect is the sculpt, but he doesn't have some kind of textured hair, then you might want to look at it more closely because maybe it's not Tate. You feel me? That's what I'm trying to say. All right, next we're going to move on to Miss Heidi. And mine I call Merida. I wonder where I got that from. Merida Finlay. But the Heidi sculpt was first used on the Barbie Looks model number 11 from the first wave. And we're seeing a lot of new sculpts being introduced with the Barbie Looks line, which is one of the benefits of this line. I hope they keep making more dolls and don't just discontinue it on us, because it's definitely been a benefit to the community for collectors having these new sculpts to collect, breathing new life into our collections. I do want to point out, oh man, you guys, so I'm hanging out on Barbie's GBF. That channel over there, you guys have to go check his channel out. My homeboy Ethan over there has a version of her that was rerouted and like customized, and I have never seen in my life something so magnificent. Tell you the truth, this Heidi sculpt doesn't really excite me. I didn't think she was like the best female face sculpt that was produced by the Barbie Looks line in the first place, but I think I just got her because she was a new sculpt. I knew I would probably want this sculpt somewhere along the line, and since we can't predict when Mattel's gonna keep giving us new sculpts back to back, I just bought her. But she's just not one of my favorites, okay? She just has a very blasé, kind of like a face sculpt to me. I'm telling you, a hairstyle makes such a difference. When I saw Ethan's version of her, I was like, oh my goodness, she has such potential. His version of Heidi is so fly, like she's so cute. She's got like these like curly little, I don't even know what you call this hairstyle. Like, is it like a little afro puff? It's just so cute. Like she just has like these curly puffs, like what's that girl, that singer girl? What is that girl's name? You know, these ratchet rapper girls that pop up like popcorn and just disappear the next day. Anyways, one of them chicks, she got kind of like a hairstyle like that, and it just looks so good on her, and I was shocked at how good it looked. His version of Heidi made me fall in lust with this face sculpt, and I suddenly, like, instantly had an appreciation for the sculpt. And it's also part of the reason why I don't have this other version of her that was also produced in the Barbie Looks line, model number 21, with the brown complexion and braided hair. I never got that one because I just wasn't like sold by her face sculpt. I felt like this one was enough and I was gonna be satisfied not to add any others unless they really like jumped out at me. So far, based on my research, I haven't seen any other dolls produced with this face sculpt at the time of recording. Again, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Also, update me in the comments in the future if you're watching this way after I made this video and there are more Heidis now available. Name them in the comment section for people who might be looking for this sculpt. But for right now, this one and the black version, who is model number 21, are the only ones that I've seen. Definitely, there's no playline dolls with this face sculpt either. Some key features to look for. Honestly, this was really challenging for me to find for this doll's head because, boy, to me, I don't really see anything about this doll's face that stands out much. Like, she just has this blank look on her face to me, you know? I guess if I'm really looking for something, her lips kind of protrude away from the face a little bit, like they want to be puckered, but the expression on her face doesn't give me like a puckered lip look either. I feel like I'm reaching, but the amount of puckering that they did give to the lips does remind me a bit of like how a real supermodel might pose in photo shoots. And she does have a slightly pointy kind of looking chin. It's definitely rounded out at the bottom. The pointiness is so slight. It's like, you know, why even mention it kind of a thing. She just, to me, has very average looking features in general. You know, she's got like slightly upturned lips at the corners, but I wouldn't really even consider this a smile per se. And overall, most of the features on her face are slightly like smallish. You know, there's a lot of like kind ofs and sort ofs and slightlys that I have to use to talk about this head sculpt in general. To me, there's not really particular features on her face that really stand out. I don't see it. Like, somebody tell me in the comments, please, if I'm missing something very, very unique and distinct about the sculpt. I very easily mix the sculpt up with Lena sometimes as well. They just, I don't know, they're just so plain Janey to me. But she's even more indistinct. Like, sometimes with sculpts, it can also be the skin tone. When you see the sculpt done in a specific complexion, it might really make the features stand out and you're like, oh, okay, now I see it, you know? But we already saw this one in the brown skin tone with the braids, and I had the same feeling of blasé when I was looking at that doll too. Maybe it's the expression on the faces because they're trying to make them look kind of stoic because they're supposed to be supermodels. I don't get that feeling when I'm looking at all of the dolls in this line, the Barbie Looks line. So I don't know if that's it either, honestly. I don't know what it is. I just feel like she's just very, very plain looking. Well, thank you, Miss Merida, for letting us stare deeply into your face for so long. We're gonna move on to the next victim. Lastly, we're going to look at Zaya here, and Zaya is the Barbie Looks model number 12 from Wave 2. This one for sure, I'm pretty sure at the time of recording, there are no other mass-produced dolls that have this face sculpt at the moment. I have not seen a Fryda sculpt used on any other dolls. Have you guys? Did I miss something? Definitely not a mass-produced doll. Is there some like super extra exclusive collectible doll that I missed that has the sculpt? You guys tell me in the comments if you know of another Fryda out there, but I have not come across one yet. The key features would be her head shape itself. She has like a long oval head shape at the top, and then it just kind of like comes to a point here at the jawline and the chin, and it's quite angular, but without looking super sharp at the same time. It's just very like soft and rounded edges. She's got very full lips, not as full and puckered as our girl Selma back there. And with this sculpt, you'll be able to see that the lower lip actually is a little bigger than the upper lip. She almost looks like she's got an underbite the way that her lower lip is formed. I don't think that her lower lip comes out further away from the face. It just looks like that from the front. She's got this prominent bridge in her nose without it sticking out too far away from her face. I would say that her head size in general is pretty medium. She has a very neutral expression on her face despite the corners of her lips being slightly turned upwards. This one is a lot more distinguishable, I think, than the Heidi sculpt. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, you guys. Tell me if I'm wrong. I just don't see it. Heidi, what's good with you, man? Like, Heidi is like the kind of face where like she's not popular because she's overly pretty. She's just popular because she dresses real good. You know what I'm trying to say? She just has a very forgettable sculpt. I know it sounds like I'm dissing Heidi, you guys, but that's not what's going on here. I'm just objectively trying to point out what you should be looking for to recognize her sculpt. And sorry to say it, she just has a very forgettable face is what I'm saying. Goodness gracious. But anywho's so Zaya here, she has some piercings on her face, but these are not real. I just did this with metallic puffy paint, so I gave her a little lip ring, a little septum piercing there. I can literally just like peel that off if I don't want it there anymore, and that's how I did that. So super easy. I think I might have, no, I don't have a tutorial on how I did that. Maybe I can give you guys one. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you want a tutorial. It's so easy. Like, it feels like something that I shouldn't need to give you a tutorial on. You should be able to just like hear me describing how to do it and just do it. But if you're a very visual learner, then I can understand because I'm the same way. So just tell me in the comments if that's something you're interested in, and I'll show you guys a demonstration of what I did to give them the piercings. Yeah, for now, Fryda is one of her kind because there's no other Frydas that I can think of out there for you guys to purchase or look for. So if you missed out on wave 2, I think it was the second half of wave 2, I could be wrong, but she's model number 12. If you miss out on that wave and you just don't have you a Fryda, you just gotta wait until they make a new version of this doll that's accessible, mass produced, and then hopefully they'll make a good rendition of her to add to your collection. Honestly though, I think Fryda's face sculpt is very nice. I think it is worth the wait to get another one later down the line. Like, whatever they do with her, I'm sure she'll be very, very fly. But the last thing I want to see really is like a black version with an afro hairstyle. I feel like they're so redundant, and just, can I get something new? Like, can we do twists or something different with the hair if we're gonna do like a black hairstyle? That's just my opinion, because I just get so like overwhelmed by all the afro puffs, all of the dolls kind of looking the same. I just want some variety and diversity in the hair textures and styles. So that's why I'm like, please don't do another afro puff, please. You know what I mean? Or like a different kind of afro, like make the color like really different. Let me stop rambling. Those are all the dolls that I want to show you in this sculpt study video. And of course, we have so many other sculpts to go over, so make sure you're subscribed so that you do not miss any sessions that we have over here. And if you have questions about any of the dolls that you guys see here, or haven't even seen on my channel but you're just wondering about, leave them in the comment section. If I can't answer you, then of course our other doll community members are more than welcome to answer instead. Guys, I thought I had a lot of dolls. I have about 200 dolls. I think I have like a little bit over 200, but I'm just gonna say 200 to make it a round number. To me, those 200 are a lot, and I'm already like at the state where I need to slow down the stuff that I'm adding to my collection because I cannot handle much more than what I have right now. But some of us out here got 1,000 plus, 3,000 plus, like so many dolls that some of us even need storage units in order to keep them safe. It's not a joke, okay? I'm not the #1 expert. I just know what I know. Leave your comments in the comment section. If anybody knows the answers to the questions that people are asking in the comments, feel free to go ahead and answer those questions and share information with each other, because that's what we like to do over here. We want this to always be a safe space for grown-ups who love dolls of all kinds to be able to express their passion for the dolls and to ask whatever questions they want to ask. So please help each other out. Well, I hope you guys had a good time over here staring at these pretty faces with me. If you haven't figured it out by now, obviously Sculpt Study Series is just my excuse to continually stare at cute faces and get away with doing it. I'm so clever. I hope you learned something new today, and if you did, drop it in the comment section. Which of these faces do you have in your collection? Which do you want to add to your collection? And are any of these faces ones you don't really care too much for? Because that's a thing too. Sometimes you don't like every face sculpt that comes up. You know what I mean? Well, nonetheless, after this session, I know for sure I'm definitely on the lookout for another Selma. Like, why haven't we seen a new Selma in a while? It would be great to see her as a Barbie looks candidate. And I think I want to add another Brandon sculpt as well in a different skin tone. That might be fun. So I hope this video finds you in good spirits. And until we meet again in a new video, I'ma see y'all when I see y'all. I'm Gypsy, you're not. And this is Broken Dolly TV you're watching. Class dismissed. Everybody can go and have a Dolly day.